As a foodie, this is so great. This was waiting for me at the hotel room when I came in last night. And then when I went to town, you treated me with a Pittsburgh Rare, or Pittsburgh Black, the most amazing steak in the world. There's so much to love here. But even more than so, I'm actually really impressed by everything I've heard this morning and throughout the day. So I pasted this slide into my slideshow. I'm not here because I think I know anything better than you do. Actually, I'm sure I don't, but I might know something different. So I come from this town. It's the city of Helsingborg. It's basically the Pittsburgh of Sweden. So you have the ratio there and the relativeness. If you go to Google and look for us, you're going to see beaches, castle, but that's not the castle, that's actually City Hall, football, and nightlife. But there's so much more in Helsingborg as there is in Pittsburgh. There's people who do things. So when I listen to you, Mayor, I really recognized what I feel in Helsingborg. It's about the people who do things. It's about enabling things that can happen. So for instance, if a couple of guys decide that they want to institute the most beautiful marathon in the world, they just do that, and it's amazing. I'm also impressed by a city who decides to have a head of internet. I've been working in the internet industry since 1993, and I've never had a business card before now. I couldn't resist to put head of internet on a piece of paper. It's kind of bizarre, but my task in Helsingborg is to try and make sure that as a city we use internet in every way possible to be the best city we can be. And I think we're at the threshold now, we're at a tipping point where public sector really has to realize that internet is an enabler. To paraphrase Cory Doctorow, it's not the most important fight we have. You know, we have gender equality, we have economic balance, we have jobs, we have all those fights, but as he says, every single one of them will be won and lost on the internet. Internet is the foundational fight. I think internet is something that is absolutely necessary to enable a city to flourish. And I can say without a doubt that I work because I love this shit. I've been head of internet in Helsingborg now for 18 months. I have 6 months to go on my 2-year assignment, and then I'm off back to private sector again. I'm a senior consultant. They call me a CEO whisperer. I'm a business angel and investor, and I'm going to go back and do that again. But these 2 years, I'm absolutely positive, is going to be the best 2 years in my working life because I can change things. And I would urge every one of you who is now in the private sector to approach the mayor's office and see if there's something that you can go in there and do, not for life, but just as we try to find projects where private and public sector can work together, I think we could do that on a human level as well, right? So explore that possibility. I'm going to try and provide 3 stories. You could call them kind of defining moments. There are a lot of those. If you worked with internet since '93, you have a lot of defining moments. But there are 3 stories that I would like to bring forward to you. And the first one is really about how individuals are transforming. And this is a video I saw 2008 for the first time. Let's see if you react to it as I did.
Oj! Vad har jag där? Vad är det för något? Det på knappen, ja. Oj! Tack. Vi slår av den igen. Då får du vända den till detta. Så.
So, this little baby girl, Iris, she's 11 months old. She can't even stand on her feet yet, but she's already mastering this device. And I mean, that means something. It's probably better designed than her own body, and that's impressive by itself. But it also changes a lot of things in her mind on how things are supposed to work. I think Iris will never accept some of the things that we accept, not even in the physical world. To her, the digital world and the physical world is totally blended together, and that changes her perception of the physical world as well. And as a civil servant today, I have to realize that I can't be the first one to make Iris wait for something, for instance. You know, when she wants to see the children's show, she just hits a button and it's there, and that changes her perception of how things are supposed to work. I think we have to realize the idea of zero friction and moving into a mindset where we take away everything that looks like friction. So for instance, every time I have to work in one of the city administrative systems, I want to slice my wrists. Iris would never accept that. I mean, if we want to work with the best and the brightest, and if we want to have them do time in the mayor's office, we have to make sure that things work zero friction. I think you can attest to that it's not zero friction, right? It should be. So what are we doing in Helsingborg? Well, of course we do a lot of things inside Helsingborg, but we also try to get the idea, not just inside the administration, but inside the city. We try to get the idea of how can we enable zero friction? What can we do? So one of the things we've done is that we have a free public Wi-Fi in the streets and in the squares of Helsingborg city. And it's not a novelty, but what we've done is that we've taken away everything that is friction from that wireless network. So there are no terms of services you have to agree upon. People should know that anyway, 2015. There are no capture screens, there are no time limits, there are no registrations, there's no nothing. Because that's what Iris expects of internet in 2015. So it's just open. And we placed that in 200 places around the city. The map says 174 because that's how fast we build it. It was fresh this morning, now it's 200. And what we've done is that we build it upon the existing infrastructure. So this has been incredibly cheap. It's $300,000 for all of these open spaces. And the running cost every year is approximately $15,000. That's how cheap it is if you build it with 2015 technology. And we do this because we want to make sure that everyone in Helsingborg can participate in the democratic speak. They can take part in the process that is taking place online today. It's also great for businesses because they can work everywhere and they can really integrate internet into how they manage their business. And it's great for people who come to Helsingborg to visit. When all of you come there next summer, you're not going to have the silly expensive roaming fees. You're going to be able to use our internet, which we see people really appreciate. Another thing we do is access to internet is one thing, but you have to have access to stuff and technology to get there. So in Sweden we have, in the population between 75 and 85 years old, we have 50% of them active online today. And that means that 50% are not there. So we try to solve that with basically not doing one-to-one in schools, but doing one-to-one with the elderly as well. We flood them with technology and make sure that it's available to them, zero friction, and then we educate the caregivers to make sure that they don't only know how to make them feel physically well, but also make sure that we enable them to use internet. And what happens is that they become a resource in society. So the aging population all across Europe is considered one of the big problems. Well, it's not a problem if we can enable them, if we can make sure that we make good use of the elderly as well. In every single occasion, we try to turn a problem into an opportunity. And it works great. The second reflection, the second story, is about how society is being disrupted. And I'm just going to show that by showing this, Encyclopedia Britannica. Do you use that anymore? Okay, so where do you go instead? Wikipedia, right. So Wikipedia, Encyclopedia Britannica, still has 400 employees. Wikipedia has 200 employees globally. And they are number 6, 7, ranking the sites on every market that there is. It's huge. The total cost of running Wikipedia is $50 million a year, $50 million a year. Now imagine another company with 200 employees and 50 million in total budget every year. There's a lot less impact there, right? So what Wikipedia does and what we have to understand is the foundation that basically boils down to the wisdom of crowds. When you throw a lot of people at a problem, it's going to be solved in a better way. Wikipedia wins over Encyclopedia Britannica when we look for errors, right? So wisdom of crowds is the foundation. And then there are two more things that we have to realize. And the first one is that Wikipedia has a really clear vision that everyone can remember. So imagine a world in which every single human being can freely share in the sum of all knowledge. That's our commitment. It's not hard to understand. It's not even hard to remember. It strikes you in the middle of the guts and you realize that this is a good vision. A good vision and a good platform. And this is the platform with specifics that enables people to actually collaborate. So for instance, we know that we can edit. Anyone can edit. You don't even need a login. You don't need an account to do that. There's a discussion on every page, so we can have a debate on, is this piece of information relevant? Should it even be in the encyclopedia? And there's total transparency by the history tab. So you can, on any page on Wikipedia, go in and see every edit that has been made. And sadly, the Wikipedia article on Pittsburgh had a very old URL to your official site, and I could fix that. You're welcome. So there's vision and there's platform. And in terms of cities, I think we have a pretty good grasp of the visions. We've been working a long time with how to form the vision for our cities. But in terms of platform, I think we're still missing out. This doesn't say you anything. It's our open data platform in Helsingborg. And I have the same disease as Peter had, the speaker before here, who actually, he said he had a syndrome of open data. What was it? Open data something? Yeah. I feel the same thing. Open data is one of the more important things we can do to turn the city into a platform. Every single registry that we have should be able for everyone to build upon. And in Helsingborg, we've identified that there is a three-tier action to take here. The first thing that happens when we open data is that the media, and the new media specifically, can make good stories of what's happening in Helsingborg easily. The second tier is research. If we put data out there, more research is going to be done on Helsingborg. And the third is, of course, the entrepreneurs who go and build things. So open data is an absolute key. Another way to become a platform is to share all the stuff that is your intellectual property in the city. So every video we have taken, every photo we take, every text is licensed under Creative Commons. So everyone can go to a site that we have and extract that data and use it. And that means that, for instance, our aerial movies are now also on Wikipedia and free for everyone to use who wants to write a story or even make a commercial using those things. So that's the platform. And the third observations, I don't have to, knock down any open doors here. Cities are awesome. I worked on national level. I work with big corporations, and there is so much friction, and it goes so slow compared to what you can do in a city. So my take on that is that one of the primary things with cities is listening to this guy, Kevin Kelly. I asked him for a really good advice 3 years ago, and he said, make one new mistake every week. In cities, we can actually do that. We can be so rapid, we can be so agile that we make one new mistake every week. And in Helsingborg, we try to make sure that we can't be dumb. So we have a risk analysis that looks pretty much like this. When you think about doing something, first lower the cost. Instead of thinking 3 years, what can you do in 3 weeks? What can you do in 3 days? What can you do in 3 hours? Instead of 3 million, what can you do within the budget you have? That's the first thing you do. Think minimal viable product. The second thing is that you ask yourself, well, if we do this and it fails, will someone die? Or will someone be fired? And the first one is a no-no. If we realize that someone might die, we're not going there. We're not going to do that. If you're a bank, it might be someone will lose their savings. Okay, don't go there. But the second one, if we hit that one, we go back to the organization and say, well, if there's zero cost and almost no resource drain, and it fails, why should we be worried about it? Why shouldn't we just take that failure and learn from it and be better the next time? I'm going to run over 1 minute because they didn't get things started for me. So how do we do that in Helsingborg? Well, one of the things we do is that we don't steal with pride, but we work together with others. So when we wanted to establish a site for inspiration and pride of Helsingborg, we borrowed from Sweden.se. This was a site that was constructed over 3 years for a shitload of money. They did all the work. When we wanted to do the same thing, we went to them and said, hey, you're a national government. We want your code. And it took about 3 hours, and then they came back and said, well, we just have to give it to you, and they did. So the total cost for making this site was $1,500, and that was pizza and beer for the hackathon when we filled it with content. You can even take this out in the streets. So the same idea of the risk analysis. When the housing department in Helsingborg wanted to turn one of our city parks into more like a garden, there's something missing here. There's no garden furniture, and they wanted to put that in this space. It first turned out to be an ordinary project with, pre-studies and procurement and safety analysis and steering committees and working committees and, all that stuff. When someone just said, well, what happens if we go to IKEA and buy some furniture? So they did, and they branded it. So here's the civil servants of that department. They're branding the furniture, really nice. And then one morning, they just went down the ramp and into the city park. And since it's Sweden, we have fika, of course, and we put the chairs in place. And after the summer, we looked at it and we realized that 3 chairs are slightly dented. No one got killed, nothing, and the total cost of this is $1,100. And it's just a magnificent project. So what we have to do now is that we have to really realize that change is happening so fast that we have to be agile. This is the number of 16-year-olds using the cell phone for using the mobile phone for internet. 7% in 2010, 94% in 2012. From almost no one to almost everyone. Things are moving fast, so this is what we have to do. We have to observe and learn from the human needs and behaviors. We have to make sure that the city is a platform. We have to allow ourselves to make mistakes, work with others. Helsingborg is there. I know Pittsburgh is, so let's share and have fun. Thank you.
So I have a sense that tomorrow morning, Kevin, you're going to have a lot of IKEA furniture in your parks, but that's, let's assume you had 250 people here, let's say a lot of 30-somethings, all in the private sector. Why would they go to work for government? Because you told us what frustrated you, the slit your wrist comment, but what made you feel like this was a good career move and you would advise every one of these people to do it?
I'm still not sure it's a good career move, but as a human being, it's absolutely excellent, because I can go to sleep each night and I can realize that, well, today I did something that made 93% instead of 54% leave school with approval in math. Right. I can do that. We've done that in 1 year. From 54 to 93% in 1 year. And the feeling you get from that is absolutely amazing. So that's why you should do it.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay.
That was great. Go.